How's it going, guys? And welcome to RC Cincy. Today we have an update on the Nexa DHC-6 Twin Otter. Very beautiful plane. This is the Canadian rescue version. I did a full unboxing on my channel of it, showing you guys all the components. There is some to build. You are going to need a few requirements, which we kind of quickly go over with, just the kind of reminder. You are going to need to provide two motors. I went with the 950 kV Admiral motors. Came with some really nice hardware, which we'll get into here in a second. I also installed two 65 amp Mantis ESCs. I did have to buy two XT30 extensions. And then I also bought a $20 UBC. That way we're not having two ESCs trying to power, one receiver. I also have a 8-channel Spectrum receiver. It's upside down there. The antennas will be taped, of course, out of the way on the sides like so. I just haven't got a chance to do that yet, so we'll just put these out of the way for now. So that's upside down here. And then we also put a gyro with AX3X right there. It works really well. I may switch Velcro because Velcro tends to move a little bit. So I may do some alien tape to have it a little bit more firm. I mean, it's not bad. Once you're flying, that doesn't really move. So I guess that's okay for now. And of course, you had to provide a transmitter, batteries, and then a total of 6 servos. You have some micro. You have some micro for the flaps. Some I think they're like. So you have ultralight, and then you have the micro, and then you have the standard. So you have like 3 different size of servos. I went with high-tech carbonite gears for all of them. So really nice servos in this. Everything else was okay. Now there are some things that I do want to go over with you guys, and I also went with 11x7 props. I would love to do a 3-bladed prop counter towards each other, but I just don't have the props. You'll also have to change the nose cones because the nose cones they give you are for only 2-bladed props. So it's okay if you do that. You're just going to need to have plenty of rudder authority. It didn't taxi bad. I did actually get a chance to taxi this, and after I taxied it, one of the guys I fly with noticed a huge flaw with the way these engine mounts are set up, and I kind of want to focus on that and then the rest of the build as well. So this is the way they want you to mount them. This is the included hardware, long big screw, Phillips on this side, which I don't like, and then of course a washer and a nut on that side, and then another washer and a nut, another nut on this side, and then you have to measure with some calipers or a tape about 70, I want to say 73 to 76 or something like that, to give you a couple millimeters of range. But to be 100% honest with you, it's crazy. It's hard to get it square. It's a pain in the butt if one of these get loose, which they can and they have. Actually, that side was very, very loose. And a guy at the airfield said, hey, why don't I take a template? So he took my motor mount, this black piece that comes with the motor, by the way. He took it home and he made a template, and he made a piece of balsa and then the plywood. I think he actually wanted me to put the plywood on this side. I don't think it honestly matters because there is big screws that go all the way through. I did use the included hardware 4950 kV motor. They want you to use these really cheap kind of Phillip heads, and then I'm glad I used the Hex 3mm with the T countersinking little nuts. So these actually sink into the wood. It wouldn't be a bad idea to put like a dab of CA on the back side of it. So this is much better, way stronger. I mean, there is absolutely no wiggle, nothing loose, solid as can be. And I don't think he said that was that hard to do. You do need a drill. You need to be able to sand it, smooth around. I mean, he really took his time and made that right. If you don't have the capabilities or the wood to do that, I would definitely, regardless, use this hardware. These screws are much better. And definitely use the countersinking. So actually what I would do, now that I think about it, the threads don't go all the way through. So I would use these, but I would buy, if you couldn't do that and you didn't have the capabilities to make a template or whatever, buy a bunch of these nylon lock right here and replace every one of those ones that was not nylon lock. So basically you would use that metal and then the T's. So the screw would go through, go into the T, which would dig into the wood, and then you tighten up that way. You would just use the nylon locking ones where these ones are here to help them keep them in place. That would be much better than just a loose little nut that can easily get loose. You could even go further, put a little bit of thread lock on them. That would be the bare minimum, but this is the proper way to do it. There are other builders out there that actually like laser cut a template of the motor mounts and glued a bunch of them together. He just did it, I think, an easier way without a machine, just a drill and just being able to mark it and cut it out. I think he did a great job. Of course, he made me 2 of them, so 1 for each side. There's no way, you got to do any work or anything to this motor. It's going to be an absolute pain to get it back square. Actually, I don't even have it that square. It's close, but it's not perfect. There's no way it's going to be wrong. Center it, tighten it up with the countersinking, and it's just not going anywhere. So this is 10 times a better solution than this. Like I said, if you have to do this, at least get the locking nuts with the little rubber, the little locking nuts. So at least this way they'll lock and tighten up and it won't come loose like these did. These came loose on this side. So you do have to take off these covers. Of course, there's already holes. So just make sure you keep the right side because your holes are not going to be perfect with this one. So whatever cover you took off, the holes are there now. They're pre-drilled. Keep all the screws. Obviously, just keep everything together. Even the cowl one you had on that side, make sure you put it back on the same side. And it's not the worst thing in the world. Now, I found that this kit is not easy to remove the wings. I'm not going to remove my wings. I think I need to tighten this one up. Yeah, I do. See, it got loose. So I'm going to tighten this one up a little bit. See, I'm pulling that back in. There we go. You want to make sure these are tight. Honestly, there's just so many wires I have up here that I would not want to unplug that and plug that back in each time. There's no way this wing is coming off. I'm going to use my wife's truck. She has a truck, and I will literally do it that way. You can see the 2 XT60 connections. There are multiple ways of doing it. Some folks bought that wire that connects 2 of these together or spliced it and put like an EC5 or an XT90 or XT60, whatever connection you want to use, or EC3, whatever connection you want to use. I just got these extensions for the ESCs, and I'm going to do independent batteries. I feel much more comfortable. That way, if one ESC conks out, you still have one to give you enough power to land. I'm running 2 3300 milliamp 80C packs. These are brand new. I just wanted something solid. Excuse the beeping for a second. That's just the temperature beep. We're getting our oven hot. You can see I bought like a box of like $10 Velcro. I put plenty of Velcro on this side, and of course I put Velcro down in here so I can adjust the batteries where I need to get the CG proper, which I have not done yet. And then there's one more thing that I highly recommend that I did not do, and the guy also made it a point, is a synchronizer. They're not that crazy expensive. Getting a flap synchronizer. The issue with flaps is one's always going to be reversed. So what I had to do is I had to do 2 channels for the flaps. That's not the problem. The problem is the linkages aren't quite exactly the same, or the position of the servo and the gearing and stuff in the servo. So they're always going to be off a little bit, and when they are off a little bit, it will cause your plane to roll. And I don't want it to roll when I deploy flaps. That's the last thing I want it to do. So just beware of that. I'm going to look into a synchronizer. Worst case scenario, I don't use flaps the first couple of fights till I get one. I really want to maiden this to see how it flies. Honestly, it's such a good flyer that it probably doesn't even need flaps unless you take it off grass. But we're fortunate enough to have a 500-foot runway. Other than that, they had a nice string through here to pull the aileron wire through. That was no problem. Then I pulled the flap wire through. That was no problem. And then you had to make a hole underneath here for the ESC. You had to drill a hole for the ESC. Make sure you have it real tight to this like frame. That way the cowl will cover the entire thing and you won't see you won't see any wires or anything. So it'll be really clean looking. So just keep that in mind. What else? The nose isn't too bad to put on. Landing gear was okay. I didn't buy the right size locking nuts for these back ones. They have just a little nut. And I feel like that's going to get loose, which I actually did. I tightened it up really, really tight with an adjustable wrench. And I think it's much better now. It'll be good for a couple of flights. But eventually I'm going to put a nylon locking nut on there because I don't want that to come loose and come off. The cool part for me is, for some reason, it fit really tight. And I had to literally drill a hole through this metal to make it like thread because it was like paint or something in there. So I like tapped it and kind of drilled it. So it like threaded through. So even if that nut comes off the wheel actual bolt isn't going to want to slide out because of the simple fact that it's like literally threaded in there. So I have an advantage. So yeah, the motors seem to be nice and strong. The back, it comes with a template. Make sure you slide that template on the pole and it goes straight and it helps get your elevator nice and straight. And just check the elevator and the rudder. Make sure these shafts are glued in. They're not moving. You can paint these yellow so it looks a little cleaner. There's lots of touches as being an experienced builder you can do to make this better. This was my first like ARF I built myself. So there's still things I'm learning about them. It did come with spare wrap, so if you do any damage, I like the fact that the ends are plastic. So they'll be a little bit more durable. Same thing with the nose cone. It's relatively durable. The rods are all metal. The control horns are plastic. I wish they were a little bit nicer, but they'll work. I mean, it's nothing terrible that I noticed with this kit. Everything seems to be decent quality. Fitment is good. So it's not the end of the world, And I feel like this is the main thing you really have to worry about. Everything else, you can make do what you have on the kit in the ARF. But this is, I think, a must. Or at the very least, use this hardware where you can see it anchors into the back of the wood. And then, even thread, I think the original ones, will even thread in here. Let's see. Because you need a lot of thread, being the bolts being it. Yep. They'll thread right into it. They'll thread right into it. If you feel like these are really loose, you could even go a step further and put the lock nuts on the back end of it. You know what I mean? So it won't back out. So there's lots of things, and you can put the lock nuts, in between with the washers to hold the motor in place. So by just buying those lock nuts and using these little T-sinkers in here, are way better than having the threads this way. That way you can see the Phillips much better. Like I said, the Phillips is very easy to strip, so that's why I like these ones. I mean, the position actually, if you turn them the other way, you could get away with it. See how the threads stop right here? It's actually perfect. Holy smokes. You could literally get it perfect where you need it to be. See how the threads are if you went this way, but then you couldn't use the metal countersinking things. But I guess with a washer, this may be better because, like I said, this won't strip as easy as a Phillips. So it's all up to you how you want to do it. You can do it the way the manual recommends, but I'm telling you, put at the very least, put some thread lock on it and really, really like tighten it up and really pay attention. You assemble it, get it nice and straight and square, not cockeyed or angled or anything. So there is a lot to it, guys. I wouldn't say a lot, but there is some things you need to pay attention to. I have my bench seat currently out. I'm going to take that bottom piece off the bench seat. That way I could fit my bigger batteries in here. Technically, I could have done like a single 6S. I could have done 2 3S's. I could have done, quite a few different options, to be honest with you. And there's still a little bit of hardware left. Like I said, I'm glad I bought those motors. I'm not sure where this cover goes. Obviously, I think this is like a step or an antenna thing. It goes right here. I'm not going to mount that until I'm maiden it, just in case. And I did Velcro. You can see the Velcro on them. I did Velcro the ESCs. I currently have it moved out of the way because I'm going to have to undo this and, of course, make it look like the other side. But you can see these ESCs just Velcro right onto the side. They still have these two big cutouts right here at the bottom. So it's gonna get plenty of airflow to the ESC, so it's gonna cool it. That shouldn't be an issue. Like I said, I made the hole underneath for the wiring. It wasn't bad. So between the flaps, I still have to work out with the synchronizers and a couple other small touches on this. I'm gonna have her touch up some of the paint if it's scratched or anything like that. I may do a little touch up here and there, you know, nothing crazy. And I definitely recommend, once you put the screws in, go ahead and paint them. Like, see the silver, how bad it stands out? Just take a little black brush or a little black paint and just dab it right on top. And then do it to the yellow ones and the black ones. And then that way this model will look a lot more scale. And, you know, you can still unscrew it. You can always touch it up if it happens to flake off when you unscrew it. So really, there's just little things like that that just makes this so much better. The doors open great. They work just fine. So you can put an actual figure in on the bench. Like I said, I'm just going to remove that lower little bar just so I can make sure my batteries fit. And then I just need to balance this plane. A lot of folks don't recommend the gyro. The nice part about this one is I can disable it completely with a flip of a switch. So if it acts up or I don't like the way it's behaving or it's too sensitive, the cool part is it has this new one has Bluetooth, so I can connect it to my phone. I can reverse positive and negative. So let's say the aileron's not correcting the right way, I could fix that. I could adjust the sensitivity, all kinds of cool stuff with an app without having to plug it into a PC, even though it does have a port and it does have comes with a wire to plug into a PC. You can you can update it, do a bunch of stuff. So that's really cool. I'm happy about that. So far the UBC is working well. I just have to get these two diversity antennas separate directions like I plan on each side. And really, we should be ready to maiden next week. Just remember, the cool part is in this manual is if you flip the very first page, it'll basically show you exactly what you need. So you're going to need the micro servos, the mini servos, and then the standard servos. Sorry, I got that all wrong. And then a couple props. The floats are optional. Some they have the weird watt, like the weird conversion, you know, like 3 to 400 watt brushless. I think it's like 850, 950 kV, something like that. Somewhere in that range. Obviously a transmitter and a receiver. And then it does show you need a thin CA epoxy, 2-part epoxy, and then all the other tools for assembly. The cool part is you can use a heat gun, and actually if it gets all loose, you can tighten this back up. And it does have a really nice key down here that tells you, you know, where you need to be precise, where you need to cut, glue. So it's a really nice key to indicate everything you need to do. It even has a conversion chart down here, and if you have the standard tools or whatever, to metric, so it has a conversion chart there. All the screws and stuff will be labeled and sizes and everything, so you can double check, make sure it's correct. It'll show you the distance, 71 to 73 millimeters. Mine is exactly 73. So he did a great job of measuring that and cutting that for me. Like I said, it's not the craziest build. I kind of didn't like also, I'm glad I see this, let me get to the page, is the way these are glued in. Where are they at? One more page, sorry. The way these are glued in, I don't like, come on, where are you at? This is like one of the last steps you do. Yeah, these right here. These, they glue CA here, CA there. They're kind of tricky because you have to like see them and immediately push through and make sure they're all the way in and straight, and then immediately start bending them so they don't get glued. And then you want to put a dab on these too. So you can put a little Vaseline on the part you don't want to glue, like a little bit around the, you know, the outer part of it so it doesn't get glued. So I wasn't the biggest fan of that. Wish I had like some kind of plastic hinge, but it's not the end of the world. Like I said, see, it shows you how to CA it, how to do it correctly. It's very specific. You know, some guys make these connectors, so it's easier to disconnect and connect the wings. It's a lot. It's a lot of wires. Don't forget to put that, obviously, that big aluminum or metal pull through there that helps add strength to the wing. You know, connecting all the servos and everything. Any other stickers, that did come with a sticker sheet and a repair sheet, which I do like, both colors, black and white. And there is, of course, the Nature Air version. And then this is your CG, which is 56 to 60 millimeters is your CG. And then don't forget to check the throws. Each control surface will need a certain amount of throw. Too much will make it fly really wonky. Don't forget to do dual rates, expo, whatever expo you prefer. So there's a lot more to an ARF. It's not like one of those bind and flies where it has a manual where you just literally put in all the parameters, like, you know, the throttle cutoff, the timer, the rates, whatever. It's not as easy. You do all that and some. So this is like the next level. If you want to take your foam bind and fly or a PMP to the next level and you want a nice wood airplane like this, balsa and plywood, then an ARF is the way to go. Just make sure you have someone like me and guys at the club that are happy to help, and they're just incredible folks there at their local clubs. Support your local airfield. It's not as popular as it once was, and they need all the support they can get. You know, I've went to events, bought tickets. They give, you know, they have raffles and prizes. I've won actually that NX8 transmitter, and actually won the $25 gift card to help get my newest plane on the channel. So there's a lot there. So really, I think that covers everything. Beautiful looking plane. I have nothing else really to gripe about. I mean, there were a few little quirks and stuff. An experienced builder would have blew right through this. Me being a beginner shows you, and I wanted to show you guys what to look for and be aware of. So all in all, put a little thread lock on this little tiny little M grub, or I call these grubs right there on that. The front one's pretty good. Put a little thread lock on anything that goes into metal. It does have these little plastic things that screw in to hold the wings on. There are two wood dowels on each side, and of course the big metal pole that comes out to about just past the motors, so adds the strength to the wings so you don't get a lot of wing flex. And then of course you also have these stabilizers, or these little vertical supports, that help as well. I think they're more for decorative. I don't think they help as much as you would think. That big metal pole in there really is doing all the heavy lifting. I was impressed inside. Looks like you could literally do separate servos for everything, give you a lot more throws and authority, and works a lot better. Has plenty of cuts out for bigger servos. For any setup you can imagine, you have tons of room to set up the way you like. So you can do something different technically if you wanted to, long as everything was good. So all that's left is to get this wrap, put this back together, take it to the airfield, maiden it. I probably won't use flaps till I get the synchronizers. I'm not sure how long it'll take. There was a company called Power Safe or Power XL or Power something that he recommended. I'm just going to get something off Amazon. I'm not going to spend a ton because I already have quite a bit wrapped up in this. Just to be honest with you, just the plane itself is $329, and if you were to buy, you know, the plane and all these electronics, you're looking at somewhere around $600. So it's not a cheap plane by any means. It's a lot more than a lot of the foams out there. So please be aware of that you are going to have to buy a ton of stuff for it. You're going to have to do a lot of work. You know, how to buy extensions. I had to buy quite a bit of stuff for this to complete this. So just please be aware of that. But I think the flight and the amazing looks of it and how it's going to perform is going to be worth, and you're going to be more satisfied when you fly because you put that much work into it, right? So there you have it, guys. Any questions or anything, please leave in the comments below. I'll try to link like the ESCs, the motors, the kit. I think it was sold out when I think I bought the last Canada Air, so I apologize about that. The props, there are three-bladed Spin Masters. They're three-bladed props if you want to make it more authentic with counter rotating towards the center of the aircraft. You will have to get other nose cones to go with it as well. Those aren't too bad. I think they're like $15 a prop or something, so it's not bad if you wanted to do that. Just remember, you're going to have to reverse unplug some of those wires and get the motors to both turn towards the fuselage. So just keep that in mind. Right now they're both turning, I think, clockwise. So, you know, it may create a little bit more movement, but it has plenty of rudder authority. So that should be okay. Actually taxied pretty good. So there you have it, guys. The Twin Otter, definitely an amazing plane. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.